Whoa! What a great, I gotta stop it, place for a tank. You can see part of it around the kitchen if you kind of do the around the corner shot. The dining room, you can get a shot of it. I'm guessing that what's behind this person is probably a sitting area. So it's like a 3-room viewable tank. Okay, the next thing that's jumping out at me besides the finger is the tank has no skins on the stand. That means I can see into the stand and all the filtration. Now from a Reef Junkie standpoint, I'm kind of cool with that because it's like, sweet, like what's going on underneath there with all the gear? Let's have a look under the hood. And from an aesthetic standpoint, it's kind of taken away from the tank because I got all this gear and the gear is like toxic green. So there's a give and a take on that one. Looks like this is a rimless tank here. We've got 2 AI, probably Hydro 64s running this thing. Looks like a mixed reef. This tank looks like it's about 5 feet long. Oh, we're going to get a look at the filtration first. All right. So we have protein skimmer here in the skimmer area, a little bit of a refugium, and then maybe 2 return pumps. One of those I bet feeds a manifold there in the back. I'm going to stop it. So I'm not a fan of the home improvement store ball valves or unions. The ball valves especially tend to seize up when they're not used frequently. And you know, I'm always looking for Schedule 80 ball valves. Those things last longer and perform better. But let's see how old this tank is. Looks like it's doing okay for this guy. So we've got some plumbing here. We've got some dosing pumps. Like overall, I mean, it's not like it's a bad install. It actually looks pretty good. I'm being picky because I do this for a living, so I'm always looking for things. For 99% of the people, this is fine. We've got a decent amount of cord wrangling. We've got things secured. So not horrible. We've got lights under here too. That's a nice change. I got plenty of lights underneath the sump. Love the water on floor sensor on top of the skimmer cup. That's interesting. So it looks like a water blaster return line. All right, all right, so there's a Y on the return line. Is that bad? No, I just don't see that every day. It's a little something different. Could have used a T, turn it to the side. This works too. All right, we've got a manifold going on up there off the top. Looks like one of those lines is a bit of a return line as well as feeding the manifold there. We've got a couple options, outputs off that manifold. That's nice. So if you want to run media reactors, calcium reactors, whatever it is, you've got options right there fed off a separate pump than the main return line. So that's nice. That's a nice touch. We're not relying on one pump for this tank. Underneath, we've got things supported. We've got things clamped off with this soft tubing. It's not horrible. I mean, this is a little different than how I would do things, but it's not like it's bad. We get a look at the tank for a minute here. Oh, so here's a wide shot of the filtration. One thing that's cool about this stand is it has red cross members on the underneath. That's a neat touch. Makes this unique as well. Helps things kind of stand out underneath there. We've got red on the protein skimmer, red on the ball valves. So we've got a fair amount of things going on underneath, but it's pretty clean. I like that there's a separate pump for the manifold as opposed to everything off the return pump. That way you're not relying on one pump. And overall, you know, a nice little install. Looks pretty clean, especially considering this tank is going to be open to the world since there's no skins on the stand. So I could live with that. A little different, again, than what I would do, but there's different strokes for different folks. Looks like we have Apex integration here. Nice little recess for the display. Oh, look at that. Stop that for a minute. Okay, so this person has done a good job of tucking away the Neptune Systems Apex gear. Granted, it's the last generation, but hey, I mean, it still looks good. They've done a nice job of the install with this cord channels. You got black on black, you got some gray here. Nice, clean way to keep everything organized. I like that, especially considering it's out in full display here. We don't have a lot of cords running around. Everything is labeled as well. So we've got some painter's tape for labeling the cords. Hey, it works. It lets the person know what's what, especially if something goes wrong. You can tell whoever's there trying to deal with the situation. Look for the one called this and pull it out. So we've got some stereo, the old DJ controls going on there. Nice way to have everything in one place for the control unit of the tank. That poor urchin has got to be dealing with a tornado there, a hurricane with all the flow. Okay, interesting tunsy there on the back, down low, pushing water down the back of the tank. It doesn't look like it's moving the sand around, so the sand must be heavier than normal, or it's got enough coral and algae on there to kind of hold it together. Now don't be taken out by the red that you see here in the video. That's not cyano. That's just the smartphone dealing with the blues. So overall though, we've got a mixed reef, we've got a nice Niger trigger. Okay, for the moment I would like to see a little more corals and a little more fish, but again, that's just my taste. We've got a nice bicolor hammer there in the back. We've got plenty of Favias overgrown, maybe those are zoas in the front. Duncans, zoas again, leathers. I mean, this is a nice mixed reef. You don't see any SPS, which is okay. We've got LPS, some softies in here, so this is an LPS dominant type of reef. The fish that are in here, okay, so I would say this. If this was my tank and I wasn't going SPS, I then would go for some more fish on the fringe because know that they're likely not going to eat that SPS. Now they may go after the LPS, but the LPS in here, other than, looks like this may be a Favia, or some kind of acan up front here, this red thing, that might be enticing to some of those LPS nippers, but I would certainly try to take a risk if I know I didn't have any SPS in the tank. Love the trigger, always love triggers, love how those guys swim, very, very unique. Nice leather here in the back. Hey, Mr. Foxface, there's an underappreciated fish in the hobby. Foxface are hard workers that often don't get the attention that they deserve. All right, so here's a nice little wide shot of the tank. Simple lighting for this tank, 2 Hydra 64s. Looks like this is a 5-foot tank. So if I was going long term on this tank, wanting to grow a lot of coral, I would add one more, but it's getting the job done on this system. Again, just showing you don't have to go crazy with lighting. You can still get a nice little tank with a nice presentation without having tons of light. Especially in this case, you raise them up a little higher and got more spread out of the lights as well. Like the fish selection, I'd personally like to have some more, but he's got a couple bigger fish, 2 clownfish, so this is kind of understocked tank that's likely very easy for him to maintain because I'm betting the nutrient levels in here are next to nothing because he has such a light bioload in this tank. Nice work.